Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter Wonderful Krishna, chapter 26, beginning with text number 7. This is the cowherd men are expressing their doubt, questions about Krishna. Is this, how could he do this? How could this, if he's just a young child, how could he do, how could he do this? How could he do that? And so they go through a list of amazing things, wonderful things that Krishna has done. And this doubt couldn't take place in the presence of Krishna because they become extremely charmed by his sweetness that they forget even he can do something so amazing, so wonderful, and still they'll be charmed, and they won't see him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead due to the presence of Yoga Maya, because of this wonderful sweetness of Krishna. Actually, in the Lagu Bhagavatamrita, Sanatana Goswami explains that this is a special significance of Krishna, that he has a special charm that is not found in the other forms of the Lord. Even you have the three main forms of the Lord. The three Mahapurusha forms are the Purna forms. This is Lord Nrsingadev, Lord Rama, and Lord Krishna. Now, when Hiranyakashipu was killed by Nrsingadev, did he get free from the cycle of birth and death? Or did he come back again? He came back again as Ravana. And similarly, when Ravana was killed by Rama, he was not specifically charmed by the intoxicated, maddened state of thinking of Ram, nor was Hiranyakashipu thinking that this is the supreme being, or being somehow obsessively intoxicated by this being. But when he came as Shishupal, he was crazily obsessed with Krishna. He was just saying, Krishna is this, Krishna is that, Krishna is this, Krishna is that. He just kept on going on. One time we were in Harinam in downtown Dallas, and there was a Christian preacher, and he was standing on a soapbox, and he was just like Shishupal. He was like, Krishna is the devil, Krishna is this, Krishna is that, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And he was chanting Hare Krishna like even more than us. He was just like, every other breath was like just Krishna. And he was just standing there on a soapbox, just screaming out all kinds of things. And some devotees thought, somebody thought it's offensive, and the other one thought it was, this is whatever, they're just chanting. Don't let's not get too upset. So Shishupal, he became obsessed with Krishna, and like the last class, we discussed some of the things that he said were turned into glorifications. Actually, everything, all the insults were turned into glorifications. Just like Krishna insulted himself to Rukmini, or here previously in the previous chapter, we heard Indra saying, Bali Sham Stub Dum. That Krishna, who's a stubborn Vachaka, talkative, overly talkative child. And then Saraswati, it's explained that everything that he's saying there has a positive turn to it. And so here the cowherd men, away from Krishna, they're starting to question, is this God? How can this even happen? How can a person do this? This must be this supreme person. So We are on text 7. Kvachid daivanang stanye matrabhad Dukale gachan arunayor madhye bahubhyam tavat apatayat. Once, his mother tied him with ropes to a mortar because she had caught him stealing butter. And then crawling on his hands, he dragged the mortar between a pair of arjun trees and pulled them down. Purport. The two Arjuna trees were old and thick, and they towered above little Krishna's courtyard. Nevertheless, they are pulled down quite easily by the naughty child. So in Shivaram Swami's book, it's called Sri Damodar Janani, and there is an audio book present on YouTube by somebody named Nityananda Chandra, but it's an audio book of the whole book, and there's a beautiful pastime wherein the demigods are questioning. They're quite confused. How can, like the cowherd men here, they're also confused about how can the unlimited be tied up? Actually, in the back of the book, they bring up this question: can something be unlimited at the same time? And so, in yoga, not yoga, but in Nyaya, you have logic. You have kind of the 5. You have what is called. You have what is the first one is the thesis. Oh, the thesis is called Vishaya. You have your Vishaya, then you have your antithesis, which is the Samshaya, the doubt. Then you have the Purva Paksha, the kind of the argument of the doubt. Then you have the Siddhanta, what is the conclusive understanding, and Sangati, how does it all come together? So general doubt in Nyaya is they said that there's actually 2 things that exist. There's things that have form and things that don't have form. So things that have form are either gigantic, all-pervasive, like the sky, the atmosphere. And there are things that they're infinitesimal, they're atomic, and they're without form. But the things in the middle have form. I believe also, if I remember correctly, that the things in the middle are the things that are going through changes, where the gigantic things, the all-pervasive things, and the subatomic things are eternally present. And the things that are small, this is the understanding of Nyaya of we have the 6 darshans in the Vedanta culture, Vedic culture, and one of them is Nyaya, or logic. And so the things that are medium size are the things that go through change. And so can an object that is medium size, can it be considered infinite and finite? This is a question here. So the demigods here, I can, let me see, pull up a little bit of the story. 185, page 185. Okay, this is what they're saying. 185. As Yashoda Devi held the cord which she was going to tie Krishna's belly, the demigods excitingly conversed amongst themselves. How is it possible that this gopi thinks that she can bind the all-pervading one who cannot be even measured? Call it the illusion of love, since Lord Krishna has no beginning and no end, na purvam, na napi chaparam. Where's the twine long enough to encircle his infinite proportions? Where will she find it? The Devas conferred amongst themselves, analyzing philosophically how Krishna's transcendental form was without limits. By doing so, they tasted spiritual bliss. The Lord existed before this universe, and because he is its creator, he also continues to exist after the universe, because he is its destroyer. He therefore has no beginning and no end. In this way, that we universal beings envisage such things. Moreover, being the creator and destroyer, he is actually outside of the universe, trying to encompass him with something very insignificant part of this creation, a silken cord, is therefore without any meaning. Another demigod added, when it is said that the Lord has no beginning or no end, the actual meaning is that although we see his beautiful childish form, he actually has no front, no back, no side, no top, no bottom. Not only that, he is neither inside nor outside, na chantar na bahir. If you go to India, and if you can read like the Hindi or the Bengali, you'll say on the exit sign, you'll say bahir. We say, what's the song that has that word? Garudaji? Bahir.
Narsingadev prayers.
Yes, yes. So outside, the exit sign just says outside in Sanskrit. The Devas conferred amongst themselves, analyzing philosophically how Krishna's transcendental form is without limits. By doing so, they tasted spiritual bliss. Okay, no, we read that. A demigod reflected. When she looked inside his mouth, she not only saw the universe in him, but she saw herself among him. In other words, his outside was his inside. That is because he is all-pervading. So inside, outside are futile attempts in relation to him. If, therefore, he has no inside or outside, how can he be enveloped by a rope and tied to one place? And so they argue in all these different ways. Well, she's not going to be able to do it. And then when she does it, then their minds are like, they really get confused. And they're trying to understand it. So you had the Vishaya, that an object cannot be infinite and finite at the same time. And then there's a secondary aspect of it, or that's the Shamshaya, the doubt. And they say that if something is infinite and finite at the same time, then one of those things must be false. It has to be like an illusion. Like if something is infinite, but it's maybe, or maybe they said it can either be infinite and finite, but in different times, not at the same time. Or if it's done at the same time, then one of those things is just an illusion. And so they give different examples. And so one of the absurdities of those examples is, okay, Krishna's, if you're saying he's infinite, then he's really not actually participating in this pastime. He's not there. He's just everywhere. He's not lifting the mountain, or he's not stealing the butter. And so that's not very nice. Or if you say he's finite, then it comes to question, well, how is he the supreme absolute truth? How is he maintaining all creatures if he's finite? And so that's also not very nice. That's not a conclusive. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives an example. He says, what is this, chapter 9, text 4. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyaktamortina matstani sarva bhutani nachaham teshtu vashtata nachamatstani bhutani pashtane yogam aishwaram bhuta britana bhutasto mamata bhuta bhavana yata kashtastito nityam vayur sarvata gomahan tatha sarvani bhutani matstani upadharya. So this is the beginning of where Krishna is talking about his inconceivable nature. So this is text 4, 5, and 6. So he says, Mayatam idam sarvam jagat avyaktamurtina. I'm spread throughout this entire universe by my inconceivable potency. And then he says he's within everything, and then he says everything is within him, then he says it's not within him. And then he calls this his yogam aishwaram. And so he calls it achincha. He says it's inconceivable. And then he gives an example. He says just like the air is flowing through the atmosphere, You have the sky and the air. So sky can be compared to like an upside down bowl, your atmosphere, and it's limiting the movements of the air, but the air is also freely moving within the sky. So there's a concept of control and there's a concept of independence, and also a the sky is unaffected by this relationship of the wind. Now, if you give something an example of something that's inconceivable, aren't you just now making it conceivable? Didn't you just make it conceivable? You said it's inconceivable. How did you make it? How did you give an example of something that's inconceivable? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says this is just like a little hint. You do not have sky itself is unconscious. It is a of course there are demigods for the sky. There's demigods for the wind, but the sky itself, that is material element. One of we say you have these 8 separated energies. These are the unconscious elements, and then you have that unconscious element is being compared to Krishna. So you never have an example of something that is conscious, that is supervising and controlling something else that is not affected by that relationship. You don't have a boss or a CEO that's not affected by his relationship of controlling or supervising. The only example of a living entity who is supervising, controlling, keeping things within certain limits is Krishna himself. There is no other example. So the sky is just a hint. Prabhupada gives an example. He says that just if you, his example was, Prabhupada said, I'm an ordinary human being. I'm just an ordinary human being. But due to my disciples' love for me, this entire International Society for Krishna Consciousness is going on. Temples are being built, farms are being developed, RTs are going on, all because of my disciples' love for me. So in the same way, Krishna's, this whole universal creation, this whole universal maintenance, this whole universal destruction, all the operating aspects of the universe are being enacted by Krishna's will, but yet he is unaffected by that relationship. And so you had the Vishaya, the Vishaya is the what do you call the thesis. Then you have the Shamshaya, the antithesis or the doubts. The Purva Paksha was the elaboration of that doubts. And then you have the Siddhanta, is that those laws of logic apply to material things. As we hear, is it not Yudhishthir? It's in the Mahabharata. So there's many times you hear this term, Tarko Apatishtanat, that logic cannot touch cannot touch the Supreme Being, cannot touch inconceivable things. Even in this world, you have inconceivable things. You have for example, you have the Mobius strip. There's no outside because its inside becomes its outside. Or the classical example is you have the, what is that special jewel? You have the Chintamani jewel, touchstone. And it has, it can, what is the example they give? Let's see, about the touchstone. It's in the appendix. How can Krishna be simultaneously limited and unlimited? And you find this examples in the Ishopanishad. Tad ejati tan najayati tad dure tad vanantike tad antar asya sarvasya tadu sarvasya bhayahyataha. The Supreme Person, Lord, walks. He does not walk. He's far away, but he's very near as well. He's within everything, yet he's outside of everything. Okay, and there's another one from Kurma Purana. The Lord is not gross, and he is not subtle. Rather, he is both gross and subtle. He is without color, but he is blackish with red at the edges of his eyes. And by his power, he possesses contrary qualities. And there's a beautiful prayer of the demigods saying, this is a prayer from the demigods. I'll just read a little excerpt from it. Many modern theologians argue about right and wrong without knowing what is actually right. Their arguments are always false, and their judgments are inconclusive because they have no authorized evidence to which to gain knowledge of you. And then he also says that because their polluted eagerness to arrive at the right conclusion, their theories are incapable of revealing you, who are transcendental to their material conceptions. You are one without a second. And therefore, in you, contradictions like doing and not doing, happiness and distress are not contradictory. Your potency is so great that you can do and undo anything you like with the help of that potency, Achintya Shakti. What is impossible for you, since there's no duality of your constitutional position? Dun, dun, dun. Okay, a touchstone which produces a variety of valuable jewels without changing its original form. So that's the example that Prakashananda, Lord Chaitanya gave to Prakashananda Saraswati. So we will continue on with our verse number 8. Vane sanchayan vatsan saromo balakai rita hantu kaman balakam dorbhyam ukatorim apatayat. Another time when Krishna was tending the calves in the forest together with Balaram and the cowherd boys, the demon Bakasura came with the intention of killing Krishna. But Krishna seized this inimical demon by the mouth and tore him apart. So they're saying, how can this child, it says he tore him into two. How can a child do that? Vatseshu vatsarupena pravishantam jigamshaya hatva nyapatayatena kapitani chalilaya. First, a sport designed to kill Krishna. The demon Vatsa disguised himself as a calf and entered among Krishna's calves. But Krishna killed the demon and, using his body, enjoyed the sport of knocking kapita fruits down from the trees. That's one of the Krishna's popular moves, the centrifugal force kill. It spins you around. It's so strong that you just die. Does anybody know what happened to one of the wrestlers? It's not in Krishna book. It's in the Bhagavatam, and it's also in the Garuda, in the it's in the Garga Samhita, but it's in the Bhagavatam. A description of what did Krishna do to one of the wrestlers in the arena. It was a bit brutal. Yeah. Tore him into two. Threw him at the dais of Kamsa. Sorry, I broke your wrestler. Just tore the guy into two pieces. I don't think it was down the middle this time. It was, like from the top and the bottom. Tore him into two pieces and threw him at Kamsa. Sorry, broke your toy. Hadvaras rasabha daityam tadda bandhums chabalan vitaha chakrita shemam paripakva halanvitan. Anvitam. This word we've seen before. Gunanvitan, yes. Together with Lord Balaram, Krishna killed the jackass demon with all of his friends, thereby securing the safety of the Talavan forest, which was abounded with fully ripened palm fruits. Purport. Long ago, the powerful demons Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha were born by the goddess Diti. Therefore, Diti demons are commonly known as Daityas or Daityas, meaning descendants of Diti. Denakasura, the ass demon, terrorized the Tala forest with his friends, but Sri Krishna and Sri Balaram killed them, just as modern governments kill terrorists who harass innocent people. And if you ever sit in a class with Hanat Prashak Swami, he expresses like that the Bhagavatam explains that the birth of the demons in Krishna's on earth and Krishna Lila was a type of strategic alien takeover. That they didn't just take birth on earth accidentally. This was their strategy to gain power and position. And so Krishna, that's when demigods came, or Bhumi came, and then the demigods are asking Krishna for help, because these beings that actually shouldn't even be on earth, they're uber powerful beings that shouldn't be on earth. They're all taking these positions as semi-human beings or human beings and such. And so Krishna came to stop the alien invasion. Yes. Plus, there's also in Krishna, you got one chapter with some spaceship action. So Krishna came. These guys are invading. So the purport says Krishna and Balaram killed them just as modern governments kill terrorists who harass innocent people. So sometimes we find that you find that in there's a lot of movies and stuff where some invader comes, and they come into the sky like as I'm coming as a teacher, but in fact they are a secret spy. So these are these personalities that are described here. Pralambam katayo togram balena palashalina amochayat braja pashun gopams charanam vanitam natnavanitaha. After arranging for the mighty Lord Balaram to kill the terrible demon Pralamba, Krishna saved the Vraja's cowherd boys and animals from a forest fire. Krishna trivia: why did Krishna tell the cowherd boys to close their eyes during that forest fire? Getting rid of the forest fire. Krishna trivia. Who knows the answer? Anybody? Integris? He swallowed the forest fire, yeah?
Want him to feel bad that he might be in pain?
He got in so much trouble when he ate dirt. So he does what the sneak. They're gonna say, "Mom, Christian's eating fire!" Like they don't want him to. He already got in trouble with the dirt incident, so have him close their eyes. They want to get caught seen eating fire. So didn't want to get snitched on. Ashi vishataham vishata mahindram dam mitva vimanam pradat prasya hyoda tvasya vyamunam chakraso nirvi shokdakam. Krishna chastised the most poisonous serpent Kalia after humbling him, and he drove him forcibly from the lake of Yamuna. And this way, the Lord made the water of the river free from the snake's powerful poison. So these snakes, as we discussed one time, the poison is so powerful that it ignites within the air. And it's like they're breathing fire because it ignites the air. So Kaliya. Now, if you remember in Krishna book, as we said, this Krishna has a specific charm. When Kaliya came, Krishna, he tightened his belt, he slapped his shoulders, and he jumped off the big diving board of the tree, this big long branch, and jumped into the water, and it was a massive wave that came, and he was splashing about just to agitate Kaliya. And so Kaliya came up extremely angry, but the first thing he saw Krishna, he was like, damn, he's beautiful. So this is a charm of Krishna that you find that even Shishupal is obsessed, completely obsessed with Krishna. He's just like foaming at the mouth practically. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. So this is the special. He enters the heart of the demon or the devotee by his incredible charm, and the person becomes obsessed with him. As you hear about as we talked about the previous the 9 stages of bhakti, the stage of asakti, the devotee is going quite mad at this point. It's like, is Krishna coming around every corner practically? Just going a little bit mad. So Krishna has this ability to incite this deep sense of attraction beyond just power and reverence, but just a sense of great intoxicating attachment. And so this way, the Lord made the water of that river free from the snake's powerful poison. So the answer to that Purva Paksha, the Siddhanta, is that that does not apply to that rule of logic applies to material objects, but to non-material objects such as Krishna, that logic does not apply. If you want to understand something that is not material, something spiritual, then you have to get from the correct source. You have to get from a spiritual source, that Siddhanta. You won't, just like, even if I want to know something, as I mentioned before, if I want to know what's happening in Japan, I can't do any kind of guesswork. I have to get information that actually comes directly from Japan. So we should stop at 7:50. Here we are, 7:50. With us, everyone can share some reflections, or if there's any comments, questions. Haribo.
Haribo means turn on your camera and ask an intelligent question. Chimunajaya, we see your hand.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for class, Nityananda Chandra. Not a question, but two quick reflections. One is what you said about Prabhupada. And, he's always so humble, saying it's only because of my spiritual master, but then saying, it just touched me so much. It's only because of you devotees. I'm like that. I can't even express how humble that is and how beautiful that is. So thanks for sharing this with us this morning. And the other thing is, I just laugh at almost the whole notion that people say, well, it's inexplicable. How could he not do that? And it's the hubris of humanity that think that we can explain everything. Like, why can he do this and not do that? Why can he be inside out? Because he's God. For me, it's like human beings stop thinking it's inexplicable just because we can't do it. We're people, and we know we're very flawed in our senses, and we're easily delusioned. So this whole topic always just makes me giggle a little bit, because it seems like, hey, guys, we're not God. He's God. So that's what we're doing about it. So I was just enjoying this whole chapter because of Krishna's inconceivableness, but he can do it because he's the absolute. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And in that light, the demigods are thinking, who does this Yashoda thinks she is. Does she think she can? This is God. How can you wrap a little string around God? And then when he does it, they're totally going bewildered. There's a pastime that you all might have heard, but there's some extra detail of Srila Prabhupada that you might not have known. There's a pastime where Prabhupada was, you've probably heard of this pastime where Prabhupada was speaking about the different classes of men. And you heard this pastime? Or he's like, and this one student, I believe this was in South Africa, got up and said, well, you think you're a first class man. Everybody raise your hand. You've heard that pastime before? Well, His Grace Prithu Prabhu was sitting at the feet of Srila Prabhupada. He was sitting at his feet. And he said, Srila Prabhupada shook his head like a child being accused of something that he did not do. And he said a tear came from his eye. That underneath his glasses, you could see a tear from his eye. And he said, Prabhupada said, I'm not a first class man. I'm a fifth class man because I'm the servant of everyone. And, you know, the student was shut down. He was completely humbled by Prabhupada's answer. But Prabhupada was speaking in true humility, and everyone knew that he was saying the servant of everyone. Prabhupada was actually serving everyone. You could, especially, and Prabhupada, his whole life was serving everyone, but devotees can easily see it, especially in his Second Avenue pastimes, where he's just using all of his energy and feeding everyone, and no one's. It takes him a long time to realize, well, maybe I should actually do something also. I'm just sitting here. He's feeding me. Maybe I should clean up. Maybe I should wash the dishes. But he was just like Lord Chaitanya is attracting everybody by his great humility. Srila Prabhupada was attracting everybody because he had this complete depth of pure humility. And so that little part of the pastime of Prabhupada's tears and his shaking head, maybe you haven't heard that little portion there. Not to share that with you. Some more reflections and takeaways and verse reflections.
Adipusha Prabhu is raising his hand. Unmute yourself first, Adipusha Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. You can hear me okay?
Yeah.
A wonderful class, gosh. It's incredible how much you've absorbed and are able to pass on to us. And this nectar is unbelievable. When Prabhupada would come, when he came to New Vrindavan, he told me, every place I go, I smell, have you ever come into a room that's been painted the day before? What do you smell? Paint, right? He said, every place I go, I smell fresh paint. Because everyone, every place he would go, when he came to New Vrindavan in 1974, we were running around for months. Prabhupada's coming, Prabhupada's coming. We wanted to make sure this was done, this was improved, this was beautiful, this was taken first class, and then everything would be painted freshly in his wherever he was staying, he would go into. So I smell paint everywhere. So it's kind of hard to, just like Mother Jasoda, she sees the universe in Krishna's mouth, and she can't take it in, So we can't take in the amazing wonderfulness of Krishna, or even the wonderfulness of the spiritual master. And one person traveling, he told me, if you tell any about this, I will deny it. At first he said, this should not go out. Don't tell anybody. But then he said, if you quote me on this, I will deny that I said it. But we were down at the horse barn near Bahulaban, and all winter long they clean out the horse stalls, and they make a big mound of horse manure, right? So in the springtime, they take the horse manure and they put it in what's called a honey wagon, and they take it out and they spread it out on the fields, right? And so this traveling person, when he saw this big round spot, it was this spring, early summer, everything was jumping up, green, everything growing. But at that round spot, there was nothing growing. It was the place where the big pile of manure had been. And he said, this is like my young sannyasis and my preachers, the young preachers in the movement. The horse manure in one spot, nothing grows there because it was so intense. But if you spread it around the field, then it will help things to grow. So sometimes we can't even take in the spiritual master or the traveling sannyasi because it's so intense. It's so beyond our ability to absorb. They have this. Some traveling sannyasi from India said that in India, the sannyasis travel 3 days. They stay at one place for a few days. And Devamrita Swami said, when I get there, they go, Jai Swami. And then after I'm there a few days, they go, when are you leaving? Bye, Swami. That it's even hard to take in the presence of a powerful and empowered preacher. So they have a custom that they cook curry sauce. You know what curry sauce is? Preparation. That's supposed to be a sign. Okay, Marge, time to go. So we can't take in the wonderfulness of Krishna, and even the powerful message given by Krishna's empowered preachers. So we have to take it in little doses. But doesn't mean that Krishna is not wonderful. It's just that we're a little bit limited about how much we can really take it in. But then because Krishna is so wonderful, he gives us those little doses, and then he returns to his, when the universal form was there, Arjuna said, no, please, can you just go back to the two-arm form? I can't handle this, all pervasive and, multi-dimensional and, universal form that's just overwhelming for an ordinary conditioned soul. Anyway, too much talk. Oh, glory to Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna.
Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur talks about, as Krishna says, I will give you divine eyes to see in this 11. He says actually what Arjuna is actually giving a lower status of eyes because he's already seeing Krishna, he's seeing the highest.
Yeah.
So what he gave Krishna is the demigod eyes.
Yeah.
It was a downgrade. The universal
he got
form was
downgraded to demigod eyes. And he got to see the eyes of the demigods. And he's like, oh my God, this whole Krishna in the universe. We may think, oh, don't you get it, cowherd man? That's Krishna. But actually, they have a higher vision. We think
more intimate.
You get it, Yashoda? Yeah. All right.
Okay, would anyone else like to speak?
We will see Guru Dwaja soon. New York Rath Yatra coming up. I wonder if we have any other people online that are not around New York that we'll see during Rath Yatra.
Krishna reserves the right not to reveal himself to anyone and everyone. And that intimate form is very, very rarely achieved. And it's empowered by love.
I think it's called Chaitanya Chandramrita. Chaitanya Chandramrita. And it says, it's not at all amazing that Krishna lifted a mountain with his pinky. What's really amazing is that he's giving out prema in Kali Yuga. That's really amazing. And simply just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's the real doctrine.
I have one little story from Prabhupada. In the early days, when the movement was just getting started, Prabhupada would put signs on the wall, 4 principles and 10 offenses, and his signature there was very, very small signature. And then, as the movement evolved, Srila Prabhupada's signature became flowery and opulent. So Srila Prabhupada is very humble servant of Krishna. But as the reciprocation goes on, then the everything intensifies. He was seeing that he was being taken in by his disciples, and that allowed him to share more nectar. So Krishna consciousness is an evolving process. Just to add to what Nityananda Chandra Prabhu was so wonderfully describing in his class. Darshan, cameras on, please, if you can.
Hari Purusham Amaham Sami Govinam Hari Purusham Amaham Sami Ena Pandatam Arvinda Devaya Tastam Mahavatam Tam Asitam Purasundaram Tanda Kotikamaniya Vishesha Sovam Govindam Adipurusam Amaham Dami Govindam Adipurusam Amaham Dami Govindam Adipurusam Amaham Dami.
Hare Krishna, beautiful class, Nitai Chand. My personal takeaway is that the more we can take in, the more Krishna will give. So Krishna will reciprocate accordingly. Will give us more than we deserve. Krishna is above karma. He's so much more than just a set of rules. He's a friend. Amita Kishori, what's your cat's name? Is it a boy?
This one is Sophie. This is a girl, and Benedict is somewhere else.
Sophie. Sophie means wisdom, and Benedict means beautiful, right? Or benediction.
Benediction.
Benediction. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Have a wonderful day, everybody. It's so nice to see you all, to see your bright faces, your beards, your hair, everything. Kantimala, your apartments, your neat apartments. Yeah. Your parks. Okay. Hare Krishna. Love you all. Hari Bol. Thank you.